this is a very different looking cabinet and White House than the last one when it comes to understanding digital assets. And so many people, it sounds so foreign to them that they just don't even want to take the time. And I admit, it does take time. It took me a long time to really dive in enough to Bitcoin that I understood it. It's an age-related syndrome that we have because it's so new. But some of us, people my age, baby boomers, forget that we hardly ever see cash anymore. We're dealing with credit cards and statements and banknotes, and people loan us money. They're not handing it to us in cash. There's a system that is all electronic, already embedded in the U.S. economy. And so Bitcoin is the next step. It's the sort of natural progression from the current system. But for some people, it's just a step too far. And that's why what you're doing is so important, helping educate people about how significant and yet similar Bitcoin is. It's the next natural progression.
Absolutely. And also, Senator, I was doing some research. The Banking Committee launched a subcommittee on digital assets, and you were named the chair. You were tapped to be the chair. So congratulations on that. What is going to be the focus of that subcommittee? Why is that subcommittee necessary?
Well, I think it's very important because we'll get an opportunity finally to marry up FIT 21 that passed the U.S. House last year with Lummis-Gillibrand, which is the bipartisan companion here in the Senate. We'll be able to hopefully dovetail and meld some of the differences between those bills and get a regulatory framework on the books. Right now, a lot of regulation is happening by slapping fines on companies that are custodying assets or working in other ways with digital assets. And they're paying tens of millions of dollars in legal fees to lawyers to try to defend what they're doing when there is no clear regulatory framework. They're trying to comply. But instead of being told how to comply, they're being slapped with enforcement actions. So it will be very beneficial to have a framework in statute so people know how to comply with the regulatory framework expected of them to do business in the United States. And President Trump has said loud and clear that he wants the United States to be the global leader in these policies. And so we're setting out to do that. So also with the framework, we want to make sure that there's a stablecoin bill. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve on the books that includes protection for individual wallets, that creates that sovereign ability to own Bitcoin and protect it in statute. You'll recall over time, people held gold and the United States made them surrender it to the government. We want to make sure that never happens with Bitcoin. And we're proposing a reserve for Bitcoin for the United States that's the same size as our current gold holdings, but that protects the ability of individuals to have their individual wallets. The other component of our bill is to make sure that states, if they want to, can participate in these disparate holdings of Bitcoin that are extremely secure and protected. So we think that this bill is the right framework to move forward. So those are the three early priorities. There will be others. We will be holding hearings on Chokepoint 2.0. Honestly, it's shocking how the past administration debanked digital assets, oil, gas, coal, ammunition, guns. The Trumps were debanked. They were at Signature Bank. Gemini was debanked. Silvergate Bank was assassinated. It was never insolvent, and they drove it out. What the government did to Americans by debanking them should never happen again.
Of course. And I'm so glad that you're talking about passing legislation to protect the individual's right to take self-custody of their Bitcoin. I think that's incredibly important. Dennis, I know that you have successfully passed bills on that specific subject on the state level. I believe it was Montana. But a couple states have passed laws to protect the right to self-custody. And then I want to go back to Operation Chokepoint 2.0.
Yes. Well, for me, taking a step back to how Satoshi Action started in the first place was that it was the middle of the shutdowns and everybody was really worried about the direction the country was headed in with regards to Bitcoin. We saw what the current administration was moving towards. And I just thought to myself, man, I'm about to be possibly faced with the idea of either giving up my Bitcoin or fleeing the country or going underground. None of these are good options. I'd grown up in a family that really cared about engaging politically, and I realized that this is the time in my life that I needed to engage politically, not just to protect my own rights, of course, to access Bitcoin, but the rights of others across the country as well. And so that's why the very, very first thing that we did at Satoshi Action was to protect the right to access Bitcoin. So we protected the right to mine, protected the right to self-custody, the right to run a node, and the right to peer-to-peer transactions in 4 different states now. Very different variations of that policy are now in those 4 states, signed into law by 4 different governors who all agreed we should be ensuring that Americans can access technology, whether it's Bitcoin or anything else. And so it was a fairly rational conversation to have with those lawmakers who got on board pretty quickly to see the value of the policy. We're continuing to push that objective forward. Strategic Bitcoin reserve legislation is the exciting thing that everybody is talking about. But we are going to be staying dedicated and focused on passing Bitcoin rights, and very excited to see that the senator agrees and is also working on passing that at the federal level as well, because everything that we do at the state level is a sort of a backstop, and it is a plan B, so to speak, of its own, where if we can't get anything done at the federal level, we continue to build that political momentum. We show the Americans and we show the policymakers that this stuff is rational and achievable policy that lawmakers are willing to get behind or put their name on. And so we have these 6 or 7 states that are going to be working on that policy this year. We're confident we're going to continue to expand those rights so that we create a bulwark of states that can protect Bitcoiners and ensure that they can exist here in the United States without fear of federal overreach. And it's something that I care a lot about, even though it's not the shiny SBR project, but it's something that is desperately needed. And I'm glad to see that there's going to be a federal effort in this regard as well.
When state governments and the federal governments compete for your Bitcoin, I think you win as a Bitcoiner. So glad to hear it. So Operation Chokepoint 2.0. I have a news show. I do it Monday through Friday, and Senator Lummis, mid-time last year, I thought I was going to have to move to El Salvador. Wasn't not kidding when I say that. The arrest of the Samurai wallet developers, the actions by the Treasury, the proposed 30% Bitcoin mining tax. I had a conversation with Caitlin Long with Custodia Bank. She literally told me when she came on my show, she said, they denied my federal banking charter. That order came directly from the White House. And it was pretty scary to be a Bitcoin entrepreneur in the United States. I really feel like our industry was targeted. Now, earlier on this week, coming out of your X account, Senator Lummis, you said that the FDIC, that there was a whistleblowers, that the FDIC was destroying documents in regards to what was happening in the background. Do you have any details in regards to that? What happened last year?
Oh my gosh. Well, so we understand through whistleblowers that there has been document destruction going on in the last few days at the FDIC. So we're sending a letter saying, stop destroying documents. We need you to preserve your records. We know that there are personnel changes happening quickly at the FDIC. Some people may want to protect themselves from the reach of federal subpoenas. It is unconscionable what they've done to the American people. I mean, when you think about just the way our country was established, that we're establishing this government, and this government is here to serve us. Well, it's been flipped on its head. At the FDIC, at the Fed, and elsewhere within government, they want us to serve them. And if they say, we don't like oil and gas, we don't like digital assets, we don't like Bitcoin, and we don't like it so much that we're not going to let you have bank accounts. And that is what has happened. So people who not only are going to get a new account and are being denied, but people who have existing accounts are getting kicked off the banking system, including payroll. There are businesses that were kicked out of banking just before they were trying to make payroll for their employees. If you're an employee and all of a sudden your employer can't write a check that you can cash out of a bank account, what are you going to think of the business? It is so it's almost unbelievable that our government would do this to us, but they have. And we're going to expose it, and we're going to remediate this and make sure it can never happen again in this country. We saw it happen in Canada. You know, remember when the truckers were trying to cross the border without proving they'd had a COVID test? And the government shut down their bank accounts and even shut down the bank accounts of people who were contributing to them in solidarity with their surrounding the Capitol to plead their case. None of us have ever seen this. It just seems like something out of another century. And so this is something that has to be addressed.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending, with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.